As the gentle morning sun rises over the tranquil waters of the Gulf of Khambhat, where the ancient Narmada and Tapti rivers have carried the wisdom of millennia into the vast Arabian Sea off Gujarat's western coast, we begin tonight a peaceful journey into one of archaeology's most controversial and fascinating mysteries. The 9,000-year-old submerged city discovered in December 2000 that has quietly challenged everything scholars thought they knew about the origins of human civilization in the Indian subcontinent. Let your mind drift serenely through the calm waters of this blessed gulf, where patient researchers from India's National Institute of Ocean Technology accidentally stumbled upon geometric structures and ancient artifacts that may predate the famous Indus Valley civilization by thousands of years, creating a scholarly debate that continues whispering across academic conferences and research laboratories 25 years after the initial discovery. Close your eyes and feel the eternal rhythm of tidal waters that have protected these underwater secrets for nearly 10 millennia, while the gentle lapping of waves against Gujarat's peaceful coastline carries whispers of ancient voices from a civilization that time forgot but the sea remembered. Picture yourself floating peacefully above the submerged ruins that rest 30 to 40 meters beneath the Arabian Sea's surface, where advanced sonar technology has revealed the ghostly outlines of what appears to be a vast urban settlement stretching 8 kilometers in length and 3 kilometers in width. An underwater metropolis larger than many modern cities that lies hidden beneath the shifting currents of one of India's most historically significant coastal regions. The morning light penetrates the clear waters to illuminate scattered pottery fragments, carved beads, and weathered stone structures that have maintained their mysterious vigil in the depths since before the Great Pyramids of Egypt were ever conceived, while marine archaeologists continue their patient work of documentation and analysis in waters that may hold the key to rewriting the entire timeline of human cultural development. The remarkable circumstances of this discovery reflect the beautiful randomness that often characterizes the most important archaeological revelations, as researchers from the National Institute of Ocean Technology were conducting routine pollution monitoring surveys in December 2000, when their sophisticated sonar equipment detected unusual geometric patterns on the seafloor that immediately distinguished themselves from natural rock formations or marine geological features. The initial sonar images revealed regularly spaced rectangular and square structures arranged in patterns that suggested deliberate urban planning and architectural sophistication, creating the first hints that something extraordinary lay hidden beneath the everyday waters of Gujarat's coastal shipping lanes. Watch as the excitement of scientific discovery unfolds through the careful analysis of sonar data that revealed not scattered ruins but an organized settlement with features reminiscent of the great Harappan cities, including what appeared to be residential areas, public buildings, drainage systems, and even what some researchers interpreted as granaries and ceremonial baths. The geometric precision of these underwater structures suggested a level of urban planning and engineering sophistication that challenged existing assumptions about the capabilities of ancient peoples living in the Indian subcontinent nearly 10,000 years ago. The controversy that has surrounded the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex, as scholars have formally designated this underwater site, reflects the profound implications of accepting that advanced urban civilizations may have flourished in India thousands of years before the earliest known Harappan settlements. The carbon dating of organic materials recovered from the site, including pottery fragments, fossilized bones, and crucially, a piece of preserved wood, has consistently yielded dates of approximately 9,500 years before present, placing this civilization in the early Holocene period, when most archaeological textbooks suggest that complex urban societies had not yet developed anywhere in the world. The patient work of marine archaeologists who have investigated the site through multiple expeditions between 2001 and 2004 has yielded a treasure trove of artifacts that include sophisticated pottery with decorative patterns, carefully crafted beads made from various materials, sculptural fragments that suggest artistic traditions, and human remains that provide direct evidence of the people who once walked the streets of this now submerged city. The preservation conditions created by the marine environment have maintained these materials in remarkable condition, enabling researchers to conduct detailed analysis of manufacturing techniques, artistic styles, and cultural practices that characterized this ancient civilization. The geological context that explains how an entire city came to rest beneath 40 meters of seawater involves the complex environmental changes that occurred at the end of the last ice age, when rising sea levels and changing river patterns gradually submerged coastal areas throughout the world. The Gulf of Khambhat's unique position at the confluence of major river systems created conditions where ancient settlements established along fertile riverbanks eventually found themselves overwhelmed by the inexorable rise of post-glacial seas, preserving urban remains that might otherwise have been destroyed by millennia of surface erosion and human activity. The scientific methodology employed in studying the Gulf of Khambhat site demonstrates how modern underwater archaeology combines advanced technology with traditional archaeological techniques to extract maximum information from challenging marine environments. The systematic use of side-scan sonar, sub-bottom profiling, and multi-beam echo sounders has created detailed maps of the underwater structures, while carefully planned diving operations and remotely operated vehicle surveys have enabled researchers to document architectural features and recover artifacts for laboratory analysis. The ongoing scholarly debate surrounding the site reflects healthy scientific skepticism combined with recognition that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, as some archaeologists question whether the geometric patterns revealed by sonar truly represent artificial structures or might result from natural geological processes. Critics have also raised concerns about the methodology of artifact recovery, noting that materials obtained through dredging operations cannot be definitively associated with specific architectural contexts, creating challenges for establishing clear relationships between dated organic materials and the underwater structures themselves. The broader implications of the Gulf of Khambhat discovery extend far beyond regional archaeological interest to encompass fundamental questions about the development of human civilization, the relationship between climate change and cultural development, and the possibility that many early urban centers now lie hidden beneath the world's continental shelves. If the dating of the site proves accurate, it suggests that sophisticated urban planning and architectural engineering developed in the Indian subcontinent thousands of years earlier than previously believed, potentially influencing the later development of the Harappan civilization and other ancient cultures throughout South and Central Asia. The cultural significance of these discoveries resonates deeply with contemporary Indian communities who see in the underwater ruins confirmation of ancient traditions and oral histories that speak of great cities and advanced civilizations flourishing in the subcontinent since time immemorial. The site has attracted attention from political leaders, spiritual teachers, and cultural historians who interpret the archaeological evidence as validation of India's ancient heritage and its fundamental contributions to the development of human civilization. The preservation challenges that face the Gulf of Khambhat site include not only the technical difficulties of conducting archaeological research in challenging marine environments, but also the need to protect underwater cultural heritage. From increasing industrial activities, shipping traffic, and coastal development that could threaten the integrity of these irreplaceable historical resources. The success of long-term research and conservation efforts depends upon continued governmental support, international collaboration, and public awareness of the site's potential significance for understanding human cultural evolution. The educational value of the Gulf of Khambhat controversy demonstrates how archaeological investigation involves not just the discovery of ancient objects, but also the careful evaluation of evidence, the consideration of alternative explanations, and the gradual building of scholarly consensus through peer review and continued research. The ongoing debates surrounding the site provide excellent examples of how science progresses through the systematic testing of hypotheses and the honest acknowledgement of uncertainty when dealing with incomplete or ambiguous evidence. As we begin this tranquil exploration of India's most mysterious underwater archaeological site, we enter a realm where scientific discovery intersects with profound questions about human cultural development, environmental change, and the possibility that many chapters of our species' story remain hidden beneath the world's oceans. The patient work of marine archaeologists continues, revealing new dimensions of the Gulf of Khambhat mystery, while demonstrating how much we still have to learn about the remarkable achievements of our ancestors and the complex relationships between human communities and the changing environments that have shaped our cultural evolution across the vast expanse of geological time. The gentle currents that flow through the Gulf of Khambhat carry continuing invitations to wonder, to question, and to appreciate both the material accomplishments and intellectual challenges that emerge when ancient mysteries meet modern scientific investigation, reminding us that some discoveries are so significant that they require generations of patient study to fully understand their implications for human knowledge and cultural understanding. As the gentle morning light pours softly over the estuarine waters of the Gulf of Khambhat, where the mighty Narmada and Taptai rivers have for thousands of years mingled their sacred waters with the vast Arabian Sea, we drift tonight into the unique geography and ancient environment that cradled one of the most mysterious submerged urban landscapes ever discovered by modern science. Let your mind float peacefully through the slow, patient rhythms of tidal flows and coastal currents that have shaped this remarkable region on India's western shore, where natural forces and human history intertwine beneath 40 meters of tranquil seawater, preserving secrets of a lost city that might rewrite the story of human civilization's dawn. Close your eyes and feel the eternal confluence where fresh river waters meet the salt embrace of the ocean, creating the unique conditions that both nurtured ancient civilizations and ultimately preserved their remains beneath protective layers of marine sediment. Picture yourself hovering gently above the vast underwater plain approximately 20 kilometers offshore from Gujarat's peaceful coastline, where advanced sonar technology has revealed geometric shapes and structural outlines. Stretching over 8 kilometers in length and 3 kilometers in width. These underwater formations rest at depths between 20 and 40 meters beneath the surface, tracing the faint imprint of ancient river channels now submerged by post-glacial sea level rise that occurred at the end of the last ice age. The dynamic interaction between shifting alluvial plains and rising ocean waters transformed this landscape across millennia, slowly and gently swallowing settlements that once flourished along now-drowned coastlines where fertile riverbanks supported thriving communities. The confluence of India's two mighty western rivers, the sacred Narmada flowing westward from the heart of Madhya Pradesh and the ancient Tapti carrying the waters of Maharashtra, created the perfect estuarine environment for early human settlement, where fresh water mixed with marine resources to support diverse economic activities and cultural development. These rivers carried not only life-giving water and fertile sediments but also the cultural currents of inland civilizations, creating meeting places where different peoples, technologies, and ideas could merge and flourish in the productive delta environment that characterizes much of Gujarat's coastal region. Watch as the scientific investigations conducted by India's National Institute of Ocean Technology combine sophisticated underwater survey methods with geological studies to understand this remarkable drowned landscape, where thick sediment deposits and shifting river courses challenge archaeologists attempting to reconstruct the fleeting traces of ancient urban life preserved beneath the waves. The Gulf's ever-changing environment hides much of the archaeological story beneath layers of accumulated mud and marine deposits, requiring extraordinary patience and nuanced understanding of coastal dynamics to interpret the subtle traces that sonar equipment reveals on the seafloor. The paleo-channel features detected by submarine surveys suggest that ancient river systems once flowed through areas now covered by 40 meters of seawater, creating fertile valleys where early communities could establish permanent settlements and develop the complex social organizations necessary for urban life. These submerged river channels served as natural highways for trade, communication, and cultural exchange, connecting inland populations with coastal resources while providing the freshwater sources essential for supporting large permanent populations in challenging coastal environments. The intricate geometric patterns revealed by side-scan sonar and sub-bottom profiling suggest sophisticated water management systems and urban planning that may have foreshadowed the remarkable hydraulic engineering achievements of later Indian civilizations. These underwater discoveries, though still shrouded in scientific uncertainty and scholarly debate, demonstrate the ingenuity and environmental adaptability of communities that successfully harnessed both riverine and marine resources to build sustainable urban spaces thousands of years before previously accepted timelines for complex civilization development. The geological context of the Gulf of Khambhat provides crucial insights into the environmental changes that transformed this region from habitable coastal plain to underwater archaeological site, as rising sea levels at the end of the Pleistocene epoch gradually inundated river valleys and coastal settlements across the world. The unique preservation conditions created by rapid submergence and protective sediment accumulation have maintained organic materials and structural remains that would have decomposed completely if exposed to surface weathering and human disturbance over the past 9 millennia. The tidal dynamics that characterize the Gulf of Khambhat create powerful currents and sediment transport patterns that both threaten and protect underwater archaeological deposits, requiring researchers to carefully time their investigations and employ specialized equipment designed to work effectively in challenging marine conditions. The same tidal forces that make archaeological investigation difficult also help explain how artifacts and structural materials from different time periods might become mixed together, contributing to the scholarly debates about dating and site interpretation that continue surrounding this remarkable discovery. The broader environmental history preserved in the Gulf sedimentary record provides essential context for understanding how climate change, sea level fluctuations, and river system evolution affected human communities throughout this region over the past 10,000 years. Scientific analysis of sediment cores and geological formations helps researchers reconstruct the ancient landscape and environmental conditions that supported urban development while documenting the natural processes that eventually led to site abandonment and submergence. The cultural geography of the ancient Gulf of Khambhat region connected inland populations with maritime trade networks that extended throughout the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean, creating opportunities for economic development and cultural exchange that supported the growth of sophisticated urban centers. The strategic location at the confluence of major river systems provided access to both continental resources and oceanic connections, enabling ancient communities to develop the diverse economic foundations necessary for maintaining complex societies. The contemporary research challenges facing marine archaeologists working in the Gulf of Khambhat include not only the technical difficulties of underwater investigation, but also the need to distinguish between natural geological formations and artificial structures while accounting for the effects of sediment transport and site disturbance. The strong tidal currents and poor underwater visibility that characterize this marine environment require specialized diving techniques and remotely operated vehicle surveys that add complexity and expense to archaeological research programs. The preservation potential of the Gulf of Khambhat environment offers both opportunities and limitations for archaeological research, as the anaerobic conditions beneath marine sediments can preserve organic materials remarkably well while the same dynamic coastal environment that creates these preservation conditions also makes site investigation extremely challenging. The balance between scientific research needs and site protection requirements necessitates careful planning and international collaboration to ensure that irreplaceable underwater cultural heritage receives appropriate study while maintaining long-term preservation as we contemplate the remarkable environmental forces that created this underwater archaeological treasure. We recognize how the patient work of rivers and seas across geological time has preserved evidence of human achievement that might otherwise have been lost forever to the destructive processes of surface erosion and human development. The Gulf of Khambhat serves as both natural laboratory and cultural archive, where the interaction between human communities and changing environments continues, revealing new insights about our species' long relationship with coastal landscapes and marine resources. The gentle currents that flow through this historic gulf carry continuing invitations to wonder about the delicate balance between preservation and destruction that characterizes all archaeological sites, reminding us that the most remarkable discoveries often emerge from the patient accumulation of sediments and the protective embrace of waters that transform destructive forces into conservative processes that safeguard ancient achievements for future generations to study and appreciate. As the gentle December breeze carries the salt-scented whispers of the Arabian Sea across the research vessel anchored peacefully in the Gulf of Khambhat, where dedicated scientists from India's National Institute of Ocean Technology conduct their routine pollution monitoring surveys 20 kilometers west of Gujarat's Hazira coast, we drift tonight into the remarkable moment when modern technology accidentally unveiled one of archaeology's most controversial mysteries. Let your mind float serenely through the quiet excitement of that historic December day in 2000, where the gentle hum of sonar equipment and the patient dedication of marine researchers combined to reveal geometric patterns on the seafloor that would challenge everything scholars thought they knew about the timeline of human civilization. Close your eyes and feel the profound stillness that must have filled the research cabin when side-scan sonar displays first showed the unmistakable regularity of artificial structures resting 40 meters beneath the tranquil surface, where natural geological formations gave way to what appeared to be the organized remains of an ancient urban settlement preserved in the protective embrace of marine sediments. Picture yourself aboard the NIOT research vessel on that fateful December morning, where the routine work of environmental monitoring suddenly transformed into archaeological revelation as sophisticated underwater sensors designed to measure pollution levels began detecting unusual geometric patterns that distinguished themselves immediately from the random configurations of natural rock formations and marine geological features. The dedicated team of marine scientists, led by their careful adherence to systematic survey protocols, watched with growing excitement as their side-scan sonar equipment revealed what appeared to be regularly spaced rectangular and square structures arranged in patterns that suggested deliberate urban planning rather than the chaotic distributions typical of underwater debris or natural sedimentation processes. The accidental nature of this momentous discovery demonstrates the beautiful serendipity that often characterizes the most important scientific breakthroughs, as researchers who had embarked on a mission to study marine pollution found themselves confronting evidence that could potentially revolutionize our understanding of when and where complex human civilizations first emerged in the Indian subcontinent. The sophisticated sonar technology employed by NIOT, including side-scan sonar, sub-bottom profilers, and multi-beam echo sounders, was designed for entirely different purposes but proved perfectly suited for revealing the subtle traces of ancient architecture preserved beneath the Gulf's shifting sediments. Watch as the systematic survey procedures that guide contemporary marine research unfold through the patient work of NIOT scientists who approached their unexpected discovery with appropriate scientific rigor and methodological precision, ensuring that their extraordinary findings would be properly documented and analyzed according to international standards for underwater archaeological investigation. The geometric structures revealed by their sonar equipment extended over an impressive area measuring approximately 9 kilometers in length, suggesting an urban settlement of remarkable scale that rivaled many known ancient cities in terms of its apparent size and organizational complexity. The initial sonar images that captured the attention of NIOT researchers showed what appeared to be basement-like features arranged in grid patterns on either side of a submerged paleo channel, evidence of an ancient river system that once flowed through areas now covered by 40 meters of seawater. These regularly spaced structures displayed the kind of systematic organization associated with planned urban development, featuring what researchers interpreted as residential areas, public buildings, and infrastructure systems that suggested sophisticated understanding of urban planning and community organization among the ancient peoples who created this underwater settlement. The technological capabilities that enabled this remarkable discovery represent the culmination of decades of advancement in marine survey equipment and underwater sensing technology, as NIOT's sophisticated instruments could detect subtle variations in seafloor topography and distinguish between natural geological formations and artificial structures through analysis of acoustic reflection patterns and sediment density variations. The combination of different sonar technologies provided complementary information that created detailed three-dimensional maps of the underwater structures, while revealing the complex stratigraphy of sediment deposits that had accumulated over the site during thousands of years of submergence. The excitement that must have filled the research team as they realized the significance of their discovery reflects the profound human satisfaction that accompanies moments when patient scientific investigation reveals unexpected truths about our shared cultural heritage and the remarkable achievements of ancient peoples whose accomplishments had been hidden beneath the waves for millennia. The transformation of routine environmental monitoring into archaeological revelation demonstrates how dedicated scientific work often yields unexpected benefits that extend far beyond the original research objectives while contributing to broader human knowledge and cultural understanding. The careful documentation procedures that NIOT researchers employed during their initial surveys established the methodological foundation for all subsequent investigation of the site, as their systematic approach to data collection and analysis provided the essential baseline information that would enable other scientists to evaluate the significance of the discovery and plan additional research activities. The detailed records created during these early surveys include precise GPS coordinates, comprehensive sonar imagery, and systematic sampling protocols that ensure the discovery can be studied and verified by independent researchers using established scientific methods. The institutional context that enabled this discovery reflects the important role of government-supported research organizations in advancing scientific knowledge and cultural understanding, as NIOT's mission to study marine environmental conditions provided the resources and expertise necessary for conducting sophisticated underwater surveys in the challenging conditions that characterize the Gulf of Khambhat. The interdisciplinary nature of the Institute's work, combining engineering, environmental science, and marine technology, created the perfect conditions for recognizing the archaeological significance of their sonar data while possessing the technical capabilities necessary for proper investigation and documentation. The announcement of the discovery by Union Minister Murli Manohar Joshi on May 19, 2001, brought international attention to NIOT's findings while highlighting the potential significance of the underwater structures for understanding the development of human civilization in the Indian subcontinent. Joshi's description of the site as containing regularly spaced dwellings, a granary, a bath, a citadel, and a drainage system that predated the Indus Valley civilization generated considerable excitement among scholars and the general public, while also sparking the scholarly debates that continue surrounding the site's interpretation and dating. The challenging environmental conditions that characterize the Gulf of Khambhat, including strong tidal currents, heavy siltation, and poor underwater visibility, made the initial discovery particularly remarkable, as NIOT researchers had to overcome significant technical obstacles to obtain clear sonar images and accurate measurements of the underwater structures. The macro-tidal regime, with tidal ranges exceeding 12 meters and current speeds reaching 8 knots, creates one of the most challenging marine environments in the world for conducting precise underwater surveys and archaeological investigations. The collaborative nature of the discovery process involved multiple specialists within NIOT who contributed different expertise to the recognition and interpretation of the sonar data, including marine geologists, underwater survey specialists, and environmental scientists whose combined knowledge enabled proper evaluation of the archaeological potential of their findings. The successful identification of artificial structures among the complex seafloor features required sophisticated understanding of both marine geology and archaeological indicators that distinguished human-made features from natural formations. The preservation conditions that enabled the survival of these underwater structures reflect the unique environmental characteristics of the Gulf of Khambhat, where rapid sedimentation and anaerobic conditions beneath marine deposits created natural conservation environments that protected organic materials and architectural remains from the destructive effects of oxidation and biological decay. The same challenging environmental conditions that make archaeological investigation difficult also contributed to the remarkable preservation of materials that would have decomposed completely if exposed to surface weathering over the past 9 millennia. As we contemplate the remarkable moment when routine marine research transformed into archaeological discovery, we witness the continuing power of scientific investigation to reveal unexpected dimensions of human cultural achievement while demonstrating how dedicated research activities often yield benefits that extend far beyond their original objectives. The patient work of NIOT scientists during that historic December 2000 survey created the foundation for ongoing research that continues challenging established timelines for the development of complex civilizations while contributing to broader understanding of how environmental changes have affected human communities throughout the Indian subcontinent. The gentle rhythm of sonar pulses echoing through the underwater darkness carries continuing invitations to appreciate both the sophisticated technology that enables modern archaeological discovery and the dedication of researchers whose careful work connects contemporary communities to the remarkable achievements of ancient peoples whose legacy rests patiently beneath the protective waters of one of India's most historically significant coastal regions. As the gentle morning sun bathes the research vessels anchored peacefully in the Gulf of Khambhat, where the eternal rhythm of Arabian sea tides continues the ancient dance between land and ocean, we drift tonight into the remarkable years of initial archaeological investigation that followed NIOT's December 2000 discovery. A period of patient scientific exploration between 2001 and 2004 when dedicated marine researchers embarked upon systematic surveys, careful dredging operations, and methodical artifact recovery that would gradually transform sonar mysteries into tangible evidence of human habitation nearly 10 millennia ago. Let your mind float serenely through the quiet excitement of those pioneering expeditions, where advanced underwater technology combined with traditional archaeological methods to reveal pottery fragments, fossilized bones, and most remarkably, a carbonized wooden log that would ignite scholarly debates continuing to this day about the true age and significance of India's most controversial underwater archaeological site. Close your eyes and feel the profound anticipation that must have filled research cabins as scientists prepared to investigate structures that could potentially rewrite the timeline of human civilization in the Indian subcontinent. Picture yourself aboard the NIOT research vessel during the crucial November 2001 follow-up investigation, where the team's methodical approach to underwater archaeology combined side-scan sonar mapping with carefully planned dredging operations designed to recover artifacts while documenting their precise locations within the complex stratigraphy of marine sediments. The patient work of marine archaeologists proceeded according to international standards for underwater heritage investigation, as sophisticated sonar equipment continued revealing the geometric patterns that had captured global attention while dredging operations began yielding the first tangible evidence of ancient human activity preserved beneath 40 meters of protective seawater. The remarkable discoveries that emerged from these early expeditions included weathered pottery sherds, Carefully crafted stone implements initially described as hand tools, fossilized animal bones, human teeth, and most significantly, a piece of preserved wood that would become the center of intense scientific scrutiny and scholarly debate. These artifacts were carefully catalogued and distributed among India's most prestigious research institutions, the National Geophysical Research Institute in Hyderabad, the Birbal Soni Institute of Paleobotany in Lucknow, and the Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad, where teams of specialists would apply the most advanced dating techniques available to determine their true age and cultural significance. Watch as the excitement of scientific discovery unfolds through the carbon dating. Results that place the wooden specimen at approximately 9,500 years before present, a date that immediately challenged established archaeological timelines for the development of complex civilizations in the Indian subcontinent, while raising fundamental questions about the relationship between recovered artifacts and the underwater structures detected by sonar technology. The implications of accepting such ancient dates for urban settlement would require scholars to reconsider everything they thought they knew about the pace and pattern of cultural development in ancient India. The expanded investigation that NIOT conducted from October 2002 to January 2003 employed even more sophisticated survey techniques, including detailed bathymetry surveys, advanced sub-bottom profiling, and comprehensive magnetic surveys that ruled out the presence of modern metallic debris while confirming the existence of two distinct paleo-channels flanked by rectangular and square basement-like features arranged in patterns suggesting deliberate urban planning. The systematic mapping of these underwater structures revealed an organized settlement that extended over several square kilometers, with architectural features that appeared to follow geometric principles consistent with sophisticated understanding of city planning and community organization. The artifact recovery operations conducted during this expanded investigation yielded an even more diverse collection of materials, including additional pottery sherds with distinctive decorative patterns, microliths that suggested sophisticated stone tool technology, fragments of wattle and daub construction materials composed of locally available clay, reed, husk, pottery pieces, and freshwater shell fragments that showed evidence of deliberate burning. These discoveries provided crucial insights into the construction techniques, daily life activities, and environmental adaptation strategies employed by the ancient communities who once inhabited this now submerged landscape. The scientific rigor that characterized these early investigations included careful documentation of artifact recovery contexts, systematic sampling of sediment layers, and the application of multiple dating techniques to cross-verify the extraordinary ages suggested by initial carbon dating results. Samples were distributed to additional laboratories including Manipur University and Oxford University, where independent analysis could provide confirmation or challenge to the remarkable claims emerging from the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex, as scholars had begun formally designating the underwater site. The challenges that confronted marine archaeologists working in the Gulf of Khambhat environment included some of the most demanding conditions imaginable for underwater heritage. Investigation, with macro-tidal ranges exceeding 12 meters, current speeds reaching 8 knots, heavy siltation that reduced underwater visibility to mere centimeters, and constantly shifting sediments that complicated efforts to establish secure archaeological contexts for recovered materials. These challenging conditions required innovative approaches to underwater excavation while raising questions about the reliability of artifact associations with specific architectural features detected by sonar surveys. The geological investigations that accompanied archaeological work during the October 2003 to January 2004 expedition focused on understanding the complex environmental processes that had shaped the underwater landscape using bathymetry surveys, sub-bottom profiling, side scan, sonar mapping, and magnetic surveys to distinguish between natural geological formations and potential artificial structures. One of the most significant findings from this geological work concerned the orientation of sand ripples detected at the site, where NIOT researchers identified two distinct sets, one formed by natural tidal currents and another that appeared to relate to underlying structural features. The laboratory analysis that followed artifact recovery revealed fascinating details about ancient technologies and cultural practices, with wattle and daub fragments showing evidence of sophisticated construction. Techniques that combined locally available materials in ways that demonstrated deep understanding of coastal environmental conditions. The presence of freshwater shell fragments in construction materials suggested that ancient communities had access to diverse aquatic resources, while the evidence of deliberate burning indicated controlled use of fire in construction or possibly ritual activities. The preservation conditions that enabled the survival of organic materials for nearly 10 millennia reflected the unique characteristics of the Gulf of Khambhat marine environment, where rapid burial beneath protective sediments created anaerobic conditions that prevented the decomposition of wood, plant materials, and other organic substances that would have vanished completely if exposed to surface weathering. The same challenging environmental conditions that made archaeological investigation difficult also contributed to the remarkable preservation of materials that provided direct evidence of ancient human activity. The scholarly debates that emerged from these early investigations centered on fundamental questions about the relationship between dated organic materials and the underwater structures detected by sonar, with critics noting that artifacts recovered through dredging operations could not be definitively associated with specific architectural contexts. This methodological concern raised important questions about whether the extraordinary ages suggested by carbon dating could be reliably applied to the entire site, or whether they might represent isolated deposits of ancient materials that had been transported and redeposited by marine processes. As we reflect on these pioneering years of underwater archaeological investigation in the Gulf of Khambhat, we witness the careful application of scientific methodology to one of the most challenging and potentially significant archaeological sites ever discovered in Indian waters, where patient research and technological innovation combine to reveal tantalizing glimpses of ancient human achievement while raising profound questions about the development of complex civilizations that continue challenging scholars today. The gentle rhythm of tidal currents that flow across the site where these investigations continue carries whispers of ancient voices and continuing invitations to appreciate both the remarkable achievements of early marine archaeologists and the enduring mysteries that ensure the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex will remain a focus of scientific investigation and scholarly debate for generations to come. As the gentle Arabian Sea currents carry the soft pulse of sonar waves across the submerged landscape of the Gulf of Khambhat, where advanced marine technology transforms sound into vision beneath 40 meters of protective water, we drift tonight into the remarkable world of underwater archaeological surveying. The patient art of reading ancient secrets through the careful interpretation of acoustic echoes that bounce between sophisticated instruments and the geometric mysteries resting on the seafloor 20 kilometers west of Gujarat's peaceful coastline. Let your mind float serenely through the quiet precision of side-scan sonar mapping, sub-bottom profiling, and multi-beam echo sounding, where dedicated NIOT researchers have spent years learning to distinguish between natural geological formations and the regular patterns that suggest deliberate human construction hidden beneath millennia of marine sediments. Close your eyes and feel the gentle rhythm of sound waves penetrating layers of sand and silt to reveal the ghostly outlines of what may be humanity's oldest urban settlement, waiting patiently for modern science to decode the acoustic signatures that speak across 9,000 years of submergence. Picture yourself in the quiet electronics bay of a NIOT research vessel, where banks of sophisticated monitoring equipment translate the subtle variations in sonar returns into detailed maps of underwater topography that reveal patterns invisible to human eyes but unmistakable to trained marine archaeologists who have learned to read the acoustic language of the seafloor. The side-scan sonar systems emit controlled pulses of sound energy that travel through the water column and reflect back from surfaces and objects on the bottom, creating detailed images that distinguish between different types of materials, surface textures, and structural configurations based on the strength and timing of returning acoustic signals. The remarkable precision of modern sonar technology enables researchers to create three-dimensional maps of underwater landscapes with resolution, approaching that of aerial photography, revealing subtle variations in seafloor elevation, surface texture, and material density that provide crucial clues about the artificial nature of geometric structures detected throughout the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex. The multi-beam echo sounders employed by NIOT generate fan-shaped acoustic beams that sweep across wide areas of seafloor, creating comprehensive bathymetric maps that show not only the precise depths and contours of underwater features, but also the relationships between different structural elements. Watch as the patient analysis of sonar data reveals the systematic organization that characterizes the underwater site, where rectangular and square basement-like features appear arranged in regular patterns on either side of ancient paleo channels, the submerged river courses that once carried fresh water through landscapes now covered by the Arabian Sea. The geometric precision of these structures, extending over several square kilometers of seafloor, demonstrates the kind of systematic urban planning associated with sophisticated civilizations rather than the random distributions typical of natural geological processes or marine debris fields. The sub-bottom profiling technology that penetrates beneath the seafloor surface provides essential insights into the stratigraphy of sediment deposits that have accumulated over the site during thousands of years of submergence, revealing the complex layering of materials that complicates efforts to associate recovered artifacts with specific architectural features detected by surface sonar systems. These subsurface surveys show how marine sediments have gradually buried and preserved structural remains while creating the challenging conditions that make precise archaeological excavation extremely difficult in the dynamic tidal environment of the Gulf of Khambhat. The paleo-channel features that run through the center of the site provide crucial evidence for understanding how this underwater landscape was shaped by both natural processes and human activity, as these ancient river channels would have provided the fresh water sources essential for supporting permanent settlements while serving as natural transportation corridors connecting inland populations with coastal resources. The positioning of structural remains alongside these paleo-channels suggests that ancient communities understood the strategic importance of riverine locations for urban development, creating settlement patterns that balanced access to fresh water with protection from flooding. The systematic mapping of sand ripple orientations across the site has revealed two distinct patterns, one clearly formed by natural tidal currents and another that appears to relate to underlying structural features, providing additional evidence that artificial constructions influence local sediment transport patterns even after thousands of years of submergence. This subtle but significant finding demonstrates how sophisticated sonar analysis can detect the continuing influence of human-made structures on marine environmental processes, offering new approaches to distinguishing between natural and artificial features in challenging underwater archaeological contexts. The acoustic characteristics of different materials detected by sonar systems enable researchers to distinguish between various types of construction materials, sediment compositions, and organic deposits that contribute to the complex archaeological record preserved beneath the Gulf of Khambhat. Stone structures reflect sound differently than wooden constructions, clay deposits, or organic sediments, creating distinctive acoustic signatures that experienced sonar operators can recognize and interpret to reconstruct the original configuration of architectural features and construction techniques employed by ancient builders. The comprehensive survey data collected through multiple sonar technologies provides the essential foundation for planning targeted artifact recovery operations and directing underwater investigation efforts toward the most promising areas of the site, where the combination of structural features and favorable preservation conditions offers the greatest potential for recovering materials that can provide definitive evidence about the age, cultural affiliation, and technological capabilities of the communities that created this remarkable underwater settlement. The integration of different sonar technologies, side-scan sonar for surface mapping, multi-beam, echo sounders for precise bathymetry, and sub-bottom profilers for subsurface investigation, creates comprehensive datasets that enable researchers to understand the site from multiple perspectives while providing the redundant confirmation necessary for distinguishing between natural phenomena and artificial structures in the challenging conditions that characterize underwater archaeological investigation. The systematic application of these complementary technologies demonstrates how modern marine archaeology combines sophisticated instrumentation with careful analytical methods to extract maximum information from challenging underwater environments. The ongoing refinement of sonar technology and data analysis techniques continues, improving the resolution and interpretive capabilities available to underwater archaeologists, with advances in signal processing, computer modeling, and acoustic imaging enabling increasingly detailed reconstruction of submerged archaeological sites, while reducing the need for intrusive excavation activities that might damage fragile underwater cultural heritage. The non-invasive nature of sonar surveying makes it particularly valuable for initial site assessment and long-term monitoring of underwater archaeological deposits. The challenges that confront sonar interpretation in the Gulf of Khambhat include not only the technical difficulties of operating sophisticated equipment in strong tidal currents and heavy sedimentation, but also the need to distinguish between archaeological evidence and the complex geological processes that have shaped this dynamic coastal environment over thousands of years. The skills required for accurate sonar interpretation combine technical expertise with archaeological training and geological knowledge, creating demands for interdisciplinary collaboration between marine technology specialists and cultural heritage professionals. The preservation of detailed sonar records creates permanent archives that enable future researchers to reanalyze survey data using improved analytical techniques while providing essential documentation for monitoring changes to the site over time and evaluating the effectiveness of different preservation strategies. The digital nature of sonar data ensures that this crucial information about site configuration and archaeological context will remain available for continued study regardless of future changes to the physical remains themselves. As we contemplate the remarkable capability of modern sonar technology to reveal hidden archaeological landscapes beneath the protective waters of the Gulf of Khambhat, we witness the transformation of marine survey equipment into archaeological instruments that enable researchers to explore ancient settlements without disturbing the delicate environmental conditions that have preserved these remarkable cultural resources for nearly 10 millennia. The patient work of sonar interpretation continues, opening new windows into the past while demonstrating how sophisticated technology can serve both scientific discovery and cultural heritage preservation in the ongoing effort to understand humanity's earliest urban achievements. The gentle pulse of sonar waves that continue mapping the underwater mysteries of the Gulf of Khambhat carries continuing invitations to appreciate both the technological sophistication that enables contemporary archaeological discovery and the remarkable preservation conditions that have maintained evidence of ancient human achievement beneath the protective embrace of marine sediments and seawater. As the gentle Arabian Sea currents carry precious fragments of ancient pottery and weathered stone tools toward the patient dredging equipment deployed by NIOT researchers, where modern technology carefully extracts the tangible evidence of human habitation from protective marine sediments that have preserved these remarkable materials for nearly 10 millennia. We drift tonight into the fascinating world of underwater artifact recovery, the delicate process of bringing ancient voices back to the surface through careful analysis of pottery sherds, carved beads, fossilized bones, and most controversially, a single piece of carbonized wood that would ignite scholarly debates continuing to this day about the true age and significance of the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex. Let your mind float peacefully through the quiet excitement that must have filled research laboratories as carbon dating results revealed ages of 9,500 years before present, challenging everything archaeologists thought they knew about the development of complex civilizations while creating one of the most contentious archaeological controversies in modern Indian heritage studies. Close your eyes and feel the profound weight of these ancient materials that bridge the vast gap between contemporary science and the earliest chapters of human urban development, where each pottery fragment and stone tool carries whispers of daily life from communities that flourished when most of the world was still emerging from the last ice age. Picture yourself in the conservation laboratory where recovered artifacts receive their first careful cleaning and documentation as marine. Archaeologists employ soft brushes and precise instruments to remove millennia of accumulated sediment while preserving the delicate surface details that provide crucial information about ancient manufacturing techniques, artistic traditions, and daily life activities. The pottery sherds that emerged from the Gulf's protective depths display distinctive decorative patterns and sophisticated ceramic technologies that suggest skilled craftspeople working within established cultural traditions, while the careful analysis of clay compositions and firing techniques reveals detailed information about resource procurement, technological knowledge, and artistic preferences among these ancient coastal communities. The remarkable preservation conditions created by the Gulf of Khambhat's anaerobic marine environment enabled the survival of organic materials that would have decomposed completely if exposed to surface weathering, including the controversial piece of carbonized wood that became the centerpiece of intense scientific scrutiny when carbon dating analysis conducted at multiple independent laboratories consistently yielded ages of approximately 9,500 years before present. This extraordinary date placed the organic material firmly within the early Holocene period, thousands of years before the emergence of the famous Indus Valley Civilization and challenging established archaeological timelines for the development of urban settlements in the Indian subcontinent. Watch as the excitement of scientific discovery transforms into scholarly controversy when the implications of accepting such ancient dates for urban civilization become clear to the international archaeological community, where traditional models of cultural development suggested that complex city-like settlements did not emerge anywhere in the world until several millennia later. The carbon-dated wood sample, if genuinely associated with the underwater structures detected by sonar surveys, would require fundamental revisions to our understanding of human cultural evolution while positioning the Indian subcontinent as a center of remarkably early urban innovation that predated similar developments in Mesopotamia and other traditionally recognized cradles of civilization. The diverse assemblage of artifacts recovered through systematic dredging operations includes not only pottery fragments and the famous wooden specimen, but also carefully crafted microliths that demonstrate sophisticated stone tool technologies, fragments of wattle and daub construction materials showing evidence of controlled burning, fossilized animal bones that provide insights into ancient dietary practices and environmental conditions, human teeth that offer direct evidence of the people who inhabited this underwater settlement, and carved beads made from various materials that suggest established artistic traditions and possibly extensive trade relationships with distant communities throughout the ancient world. The wattle and daub construction materials proved particularly fascinating to researchers, as these architectural fragments contained locally available clay, reed fibers, pottery pieces, and freshwater shell fragments that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of building techniques adapted to coastal environmental conditions. The evidence of partial burning found in many of these construction materials suggested either accidental fire damage or deliberate use of controlled burning in construction processes, providing important insights into the technological capabilities and architectural practices employed by ancient builders working in challenging coastal environments where durability and weather resistance would have been essential considerations. The microliths recovered from the site represent some of the most sophisticated small stone tools ever discovered in ancient Indian archaeological contexts, displaying precision manufacturing techniques and careful edge modification that required considerable skill and technological knowledge to produce. These tiny implements, typically measuring only a few centimeters in length, demonstrate the advanced lithic technologies employed by ancient communities for hunting, food processing, and various craft activities. While their presence in association with urban architectural features suggests the coexistence of traditional hunter-gatherer technologies with emerging urban lifestyles during this transitional period in human cultural development. The fossilized animal bones found among the recovered materials provide valuable paleo-environmental information about the ancient ecosystem that supported human settlement in this region, including evidence of marine species that indicate access to coastal resources and terrestrial animals that suggest diverse hunting and food procurement strategies. The analysis of these bone fragments reveals information about ancient dietary practices, seasonal resource exploitation patterns, and the environmental conditions that characterized the Gulf of Khambhat region during the early Holocene period, when rising sea levels were gradually transforming coastal landscapes throughout the world. The human teeth discovered at the site offer direct evidence of the people who once inhabited this remarkable underwater settlement, enabling researchers to conduct studies of ancient health conditions, dietary practices, and population characteristics that provide important insights into the daily lives and physical well-being of these early urban dwellers. The preservation of dental materials in marine environments often enables detailed analysis of wear patterns, nutritional indicators, and pathological conditions that illuminate aspects of ancient life that would otherwise remain completely unknown to contemporary researchers. The scholarly controversies that emerged from these artifact discoveries center primarily on the fundamental methodological problem of associating materials recovered through dredging operations with specific architectural contexts detected by sonar surveys, as critics legitimately point out that the dynamic tidal environment of the Gulf of Khambhat could easily transport and redeposit ancient materials from various sources and time periods. This concern about secure archaeological context raises important questions about whether the extraordinary ages suggested by carbon dating can be reliably applied to the underwater structures themselves, or whether they might represent isolated deposits of ancient organic materials that have been moved from their original locations by marine processes. The multiple independent laboratories that conducted carbon dating analysis of the wooden specimen, including prestigious institutions in India, Europe, and North America, consistently confirmed the 9,500-year age estimate, providing scientific credibility to the extraordinary claims while also intensifying the debates about site interpretation and cultural significance. The reliability of radiocarbon dating techniques for materials of this age, while generally accepted within the scientific community, still requires careful consideration of potential contamination sources and environmental factors that might affect the accuracy of age determinations for materials recovered from challenging marine archaeological contexts. The preservation challenges that face the recovered artifacts include not only the immediate conservation needs of materials that have been submerged for millennia, but also the long-term storage and research requirements that ensure these irreplaceable cultural resources remain available for continued study by future generations of researchers using analytical techniques that have not yet been developed. The successful conservation of underwater archaeological materials requires specialized expertise in marine artifact preservation, controlled environmental conditions, and careful handling procedures that prevent deterioration while enabling appropriate scientific investigation as we contemplate the remarkable collection of ancient materials that emerged from the protective depths of the Gulf of Khambhat. We witness tangible evidence of human creativity, technological sophistication, and cultural achievement that challenges our assumptions about the pace and pattern of civilizational development, while demonstrating the extraordinary preservation potential of marine archaeological environments. The ongoing debates surrounding these discoveries reflect the healthy scientific skepticism that ensures archaeological interpretations are based on solid evidence while acknowledging the profound implications of accepting such ancient dates for urban civilization in the Indian subcontinent. The gentle rhythm of laboratory analysis and the patient accumulation of scientific evidence carry continuing invitations to appreciate both the remarkable achievements of ancient peoples and the sophisticated methodologies that enable contemporary researchers to extract meaningful information from fragmentary materials that serve as bridges across nearly 10 millennia of human cultural development. As the gentle evening light fades over the ancient lands of Gujarat, where the sacred rivers have carried the wisdom of countless generations toward the waiting embrace of the Arabian Sea, we drift tonight into the profound implications of the Gulf of Khambhat discovery, a controversial theory that suggests the submerged structures and 9,500-year-old artifacts may represent evidence of India's lost mother culture, a sophisticated civilization that flourished thousands of years before the famous Harappan cities and potentially influenced the development of all subsequent urban societies throughout the Indian subcontinent. Let your mind float peacefully through the scholarly debates surrounding Dr. Badranarian's revolutionary hypothesis, where patient analysis of underwater archaeological evidence challenges traditional timelines of human cultural development while raising profound questions about the true antiquity of Indian civilization and its fundamental contributions to the emergence of complex societies across South Asia. Close your eyes and feel the weight of historical possibility as we explore how a single underwater discovery might rewrite the entire story of human urban development, connecting the mysterious civilization beneath the Gulf's protective waters to the great cultural achievements that would later flourish along the Indus and Saraswati river valleys. Picture yourself standing among the ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, those magnificent Indus Valley cities that have long been considered the earliest examples of urban planning and sophisticated civilization in the Indian subcontinent, while contemplating the revolutionary possibility that their remarkable achievements in hydraulic engineering, urban design, and social organization might actually represent the culmination of cultural traditions that began thousands of years earlier in coastal settlements now resting beneath 40 meters of Arabian Sea water. The implications of accepting such ancient dates for the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex would fundamentally transform our understanding of how human civilization developed in South Asia, suggesting that the roots of Indian urban culture extend back to the early Holocene period, when most archaeological textbooks assume that complex societies had not yet emerged anywhere in the world. The mother culture hypothesis proposed by Dr. Badranarian, NIOT's chief geologist and leading researcher on the Gulf of Khambhat project, suggests that the sophisticated civilization revealed by underwater sonar surveys and controversial carbon dating represents the ancestral source of cultural innovations that would later appear in the Harappan civilization and other ancient Indian societies. According to this theory, the rising sea levels that occurred at the end of the last ice age gradually submerged coastal settlements where advanced urban planning, sophisticated water management systems, and complex social organizations had already been established, forcing surviving populations to migrate inland, where they would eventually establish the great river valley civilizations that modern archaeology recognizes as India's earliest urban achievements. Watch as the evidence supporting this remarkable hypothesis unfolds through careful comparison of architectural features detected by sonar surveys with the sophisticated urban planning that characterizes Harappan cities, where grid-patterned street layouts, standardized construction techniques, and advanced drainage systems suggest cultural continuity across millennia of development rather than sudden innovation during the mature Harappan period. The geometric precision of structures detected beneath the Gulf of Khambhat displays the same systematic approach to city planning that would later characterize Indus Valley settlements, while the positioning of architectural features alongside ancient paleo-channels mirrors the strategic relationship between Harappan cities and the river systems that supported their agricultural and commercial activities. The technological sophistication implied by 9,500-year-old urban settlement in the Gulf of Khambhat would help explain many of the remarkable achievements that appear so suddenly in the archaeological record of the Harappan civilization, including their mastery of metallurgy, their sophisticated understanding of hydraulic engineering, and their development of standardized weights and measures that facilitated extensive trade networks throughout South and Central Asia. Rather than viewing these innovations as rapid developments during the early Harappan period, the mother culture hypothesis suggests that these technologies and social systems had been evolving for thousands of years in coastal settlements that were gradually forced to relocate as rising seas transformed the ancient landscape. The cultural transmission mechanisms that could have connected the submerged coastal civilization to later inland developments include not only direct population migration, but also the continuation of technological knowledge, social institutions, and religious practices that survived the environmental challenges posed by post-glacial sea level rise. The gradual nature of this submergence process would have enabled surviving communities to preserve essential cultural knowledge while adapting their settlement patterns to changing environmental conditions, creating opportunities for cultural synthesis between coastal traditions and indigenous inland populations that could have generated the remarkable achievements associated with mature Harappan civilization. The archaeological evidence that supports connections between the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries and later Indian civilizations includes not only the geometric precision of underwater structures, but also the sophisticated pottery traditions, advanced bead-making techniques, and complex urban planning concepts that appear in both contexts. The microliths recovered from the underwater site demonstrate technological continuities with lithic traditions found throughout ancient India, while the evidence of sophisticated construction techniques using locally available materials suggests environmental adaptation strategies that would later characterize successful urban settlements throughout the subcontinent. The chronological frameworks that must be reconsidered if the mother culture hypothesis proves correct would require archaeologists to extend the timeline of Indian urban development by several millennia, positioning the subcontinent as one of the world's earliest centers of complex civilization rather than a region where urban societies emerged relatively late compared to developments in Mesopotamia and other traditionally recognized cradles of human cultural achievement. This revised chronology would also necessitate fundamental reconsideration of how cultural innovations spread throughout ancient Asia, with India potentially serving as a source rather than a recipient of technological and social advances that enabled the development of complex societies across the region. The environmental factors that supported early urban development in the Gulf of Khambhat region include the same favorable conditions that would later enable Harappan civilization to flourish. Proximity to major river systems, access to diverse natural resources, strategic location for trade and cultural exchange, and environmental stability that supported agricultural surplus and population growth. The gradual submergence of these coastal settlements by rising seas would have created selective pressures that favored communities capable of adapting their technologies and social systems to new environmental conditions, potentially accelerating cultural innovation and technological development among surviving populations. The scholarly resistance to the mother culture hypothesis reflects legitimate concerns about the methodological challenges of associating carbon-dated artifacts with underwater structures detected by sonar surveys, as well as broader skepticism about claims that challenge established archaeological timelines without overwhelming evidence from multiple independent sources. Critics argue that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, and that the complex environmental dynamics of the Gulf of Khambhat could easily result in the transport and redeposition of ancient materials that might not be directly associated with the underwater structures themselves. The comparative analysis that supports connections between the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries and later Indian civilizations must also account for the possibility of convergent evolution, where similar environmental challenges and opportunities could have independently produced comparable solutions without direct cultural transmission between ancient coastal and inland populations. The sophisticated urban planning and water management systems that characterize both contexts might reflect shared responses to similar environmental conditions rather than direct cultural inheritance from a common ancestral civilization. The political and cultural dimensions of the mother culture debate extend beyond purely academic concerns to encompass broader questions about Indian cultural identity and the antiquity of indigenous achievements in the subcontinent, with some supporters viewing the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries as validation of traditional claims about India's ancient heritage, while critics express concern about the premature acceptance of controversial archaeological interpretations for nationalistic purposes. The intersection of scientific archaeology with cultural politics requires careful attention to maintaining scholarly objectivity while respecting the legitimate cultural interests of contemporary communities. The future research directions that could help resolve the mother culture debate include continued underwater archaeological investigation using improved techniques for establishing secure artifact contexts, expanded comparative analysis of material culture traditions across ancient Indian sites, and interdisciplinary collaboration between archaeologists, geologists, and environmental scientists to better understand the complex processes that have shaped the Gulf of Khambhat archaeological record. The development of new dating techniques and analytical methods may eventually provide the conclusive evidence necessary for evaluating the extraordinary claims surrounding this remarkable underwater discovery as we contemplate the possibility that the mysterious structures beneath the Gulf of Khambhat represent evidence of India's lost mother culture. We witness how a single archaeological discovery can challenge fundamental assumptions about human cultural development while raising profound questions about the relationships between environmental change, technological innovation, and the emergence of complex civilizations. The ongoing debates surrounding this remarkable site demonstrate how archaeological investigation continues, revealing new dimensions of human achievement, while reminding us that many chapters of our species' cultural story may still lie hidden beneath the world's oceans, waiting for patient scientific investigation to bring their voices back to the surface. The gentle rhythm of scholarly inquiry and the eternal quest for understanding carry continuing invitations to appreciate both the remarkable possibilities suggested by underwater archaeological discovery and the careful methodological approaches necessary for distinguishing between genuine cultural achievements and the misleading patterns that can emerge from incomplete evidence and wishful interpretation. As the gentle evening light fades over the research institutions where scholars continue debating the significance of the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries, where academic conferences echo with passionate discussions about methodology, evidence, and the extraordinary claims that challenge established archaeological timelines, we drift tonight into the complex world of scientific controversy that has surrounded the underwater site for over 2 decades, a scholarly debate that demonstrates how the pursuit of truth requires not only remarkable discoveries but also rigorous skepticism, careful analysis, and the patient application of scientific principles to distinguish between genuine archaeological evidence and the misleading patterns that can emerge from incomplete data. Let your mind float peacefully through the thoughtful critiques and methodological concerns raised by respected archaeologists who approach the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex with appropriate scientific caution, where healthy skepticism serves not to diminish the excitement of discovery but to ensure that extraordinary claims receive the extraordinary evidence necessary for acceptance within the international scholarly community. Close your eyes and feel the profound responsibility that rests upon contemporary researchers to balance openness to new possibilities with rigorous adherence to established scientific standards, creating an environment where truth can emerge through careful analysis rather than wishful thinking or premature conclusions. Picture yourself in the quiet halls of prestigious archaeological institutions where distinguished scholars like Dr. Iravatham Mahadevan and Dr. Akko Parpala have raised thoughtful concerns about the interpretation of evidence from the underwater site, their careful critiques reflecting not opposition to discovery but commitment to the methodological rigor that ensures archaeological conclusions are based on solid evidence rather than spectacular speculation. Dr. Mahadevan, while acknowledging the man-made appearance of certain underwater structures, has cautioned that some artifacts recovered from the site might have been transported by ancient rivers rather than originating from the structures themselves, highlighting the fundamental challenge of establishing secure archaeological contexts in dynamic marine environments where currents and sedimentation can move materials across vast distances and time periods. The methodological concerns that have dominated scholarly discussions since the initial announcement center on the fundamental archaeological principle that artifacts must be recovered from secure contexts to be meaningfully associated with specific structures or time periods, a requirement that becomes particularly challenging when materials are obtained through dredging operations rather than controlled excavation procedures. The recovery methods employed at the Gulf of Khambhat site, necessitated by the extreme environmental conditions that make traditional archaeological excavation impossible, have created unavoidable uncertainties about the relationships between dated organic materials and the underwater structures detected by sonar surveys, leading prominent archaeologists to question whether the extraordinary ages suggested by carbon dating can be reliably applied to the architectural features themselves. Watch as the international archaeological community grapples with the implications of accepting 9,500-year-old dates for urban civilization, where established models of cultural development suggest that complex city-like settlements did not emerge anywhere in the world until several millennia later, creating tensions between the exciting possibilities suggested by the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries and the conservative approach that characterizes responsible archaeological interpretation. The extraordinary nature of these claims, positioning the Indian subcontinent as a center of remarkably early urban innovation that predated similar developments in traditionally recognized cradles of civilization, requires evidence that meets the highest standards of archaeological verification while accounting for alternative explanations that might explain the observed patterns without invoking such radical revisions to established chronologies. The carbon dating controversies that have persisted throughout the investigation reflect both the technical challenges of accurately dating materials recovered from marine environments and the broader questions about whether isolated organic specimens can provide reliable information about the age of entire archaeological sites. Dr. Akko Parpala and other critics have raised concerns about the reliability of radiocarbon determinations for materials that may have been contaminated by marine processes or affected by the complex geochemical conditions that characterize underwater archaeological deposits. While supporters of the discovery point to the consistency of dates obtained from multiple independent laboratories as evidence for the accuracy of the 9,500-year age estimates, the political dimensions that complicated scholarly evaluation of the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries emerged when Union Minister Murli Manohar Joshi's enthusiastic announcement in 2001 described the site in terms that suggested predetermined conclusions about its significance for understanding Indian cultural heritage, creating concerns among archaeologists that extraordinary claims were being promoted for nationalistic purposes rather than emerging from careful scientific analysis. The intersection of archaeological discovery with cultural politics has required researchers to navigate carefully between legitimate excitement about potential findings and the need to maintain scholarly objectivity while ensuring that scientific conclusions are based on evidence rather than cultural aspirations or political considerations. The media response that followed the initial announcements demonstrated how archaeological controversies can become amplified through sensational reporting that emphasizes spectacular claims while downplaying the methodological uncertainties and scholarly debates that characterize responsible scientific investigation, with publications like Frontline magazine launching sharp critiques that questioned both the interpretation of evidence and the motivations behind promoting such extraordinary theories. The polarized nature of media coverage has sometimes obscured the legitimate scientific questions that surround the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries, while creating public impressions that the controversy represents simple opposition between believers and skeptics rather than the complex methodological discussions that characterize healthy scientific debate. The ongoing research challenges that face marine archaeologists working at the Gulf of Khambhat site include not only the technical difficulties of conducting controlled excavation in extreme environmental conditions, but also the need to develop new methodological approaches for establishing secure archaeological contexts in dynamic underwater environments where traditional excavation protocols may be impossible to implement. The macro-tidal regime with 12-meter tidal ranges and 8-knot currents creates some of the most challenging conditions imaginable for underwater heritage investigation, while the heavy siltation and poor visibility that characterize the marine environment make precise documentation and controlled artifact recovery extremely difficult to achieve according to standard archaeological protocols. The comparative analysis that some scholars have employed to evaluate the Gulf of Khambhat claims involves examining similar underwater discoveries from other parts of the world, where post-glacial sea level rise has submerged ancient coastal settlements while creating preservation conditions that enable the survival of organic materials for thousands of years. These comparative studies suggest that the discovery of ancient materials in marine environments is not unprecedented, while also highlighting the methodological challenges that face researchers attempting to distinguish between in situ archaeological deposits and materials that have been transported and redeposited by marine processes over extended time periods. The technological innovations that continue improving underwater archaeological capabilities include advances in remote sensing, robotic survey systems, and precision dating techniques that may eventually provide the definitive evidence necessary for resolving the controversies surrounding the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex. The development of new analytical methods for distinguishing between natural and artificial underwater formations, combined with improved techniques for establishing secure archaeological contexts in challenging marine environments, offers hope that future research may be able to address the methodological concerns that have limited scholarly acceptance of the extraordinary claims associated with this remarkable discovery. The educational value of the Gulf of Khambhat controversy extends beyond its specific archaeological significance to encompass broader lessons about how science progresses through the careful evaluation of evidence, the importance of healthy skepticism in preventing premature conclusions, and the complex relationships between extraordinary discoveries and the conservative methodologies that ensure scholarly credibility. The ongoing debates surrounding this site demonstrate how archaeological investigation involves not just the discovery of ancient materials, but also the patient application of rigorous analytical methods that distinguish between genuine cultural achievements and the misleading patterns that can emerge from incomplete or ambiguous evidence. The international perspectives that have enriched the Gulf of Khambhat debate include contributions from scholars like Justin Morris from the British Museum, whose recent analysis has added new dimensions to the ongoing discussions while demonstrating how archaeological controversies benefit from diverse viewpoints and interdisciplinary collaboration. The continuing engagement of international experts with the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries, despite the methodological uncertainties that surround the site, reflects the potential significance of the findings while also highlighting the importance of maintaining rigorous standards for archaeological interpretation regardless of the spectacular nature of the claims being evaluated as we contemplate the complex scholarly debates that have surrounded the Gulf of Khambhat discoveries for over 2 decades. We witness the healthy functioning of scientific skepticism that ensures extraordinary claims receive appropriate scrutiny while remaining open to the possibility that genuine archaeological evidence may eventually confirm the remarkable theories that have emerged from this controversial underwater site. The patient work of evaluation and re-evaluation that characterizes responsible archaeological investigation demonstrates how truth emerges through careful analysis rather than immediate acceptance of spectacular possibilities, creating an environment where genuine discoveries can be distinguished from wishful interpretations through the application of rigorous scientific methodologies. The gentle rhythm of scholarly debate and the eternal quest for archaeological truth carry continuing invitations to appreciate both the excitement of potential discovery and the careful methodological approaches that ensure conclusions are based on solid evidence rather than premature enthusiasm, reminding us that the most meaningful advances in human knowledge often emerge through the patient application of scientific skepticism to extraordinary claims. As the gentle morning sun rises over the bustling conservation laboratories where dedicated marine archaeologists continue their patient work with artifacts recovered from the Gulf of Khambhat, while environmental scientists monitor the complex ecological systems that both threaten and protect this remarkable underwater archaeological site, we drift tonight into the contemporary world of heritage preservation, where cutting-edge technology combines with traditional conservation wisdom to address the myriad challenges facing one of India's most controversial and potentially significant cultural treasures. Let your mind float peacefully through the ongoing efforts to balance scientific investigation with environmental protection, where the dynamic forces that once preserved these ancient materials for nearly 10 millennia now pose complex challenges for researchers seeking to understand and protect the submerged structures and artifacts that may hold keys to rewriting the history of human civilization. Close your eyes and feel the profound responsibility that rests upon contemporary guardians who must navigate between the excitement of discovery and the careful stewardship required to ensure that future generations will have access to these irreplaceable windows into humanity's earliest urban achievements. Picture yourself aboard modern research vessels equipped with state-of-the-art conservation equipment, where scientists work within climate-controlled chambers to preserve delicate artifacts that have survived underwater for millennia while developing new methodologies for protecting archaeological sites in one of India's most challenging marine environments. The Gulf of Khambhat presents extraordinary preservation challenges due to its extreme tidal conditions, with macro-tidal ranges exceeding 12 meters and current speeds reaching 8 knots that create constant sediment movement and make sustained underwater investigation exceptionally difficult. The same dynamic environmental forces that enabled the remarkable preservation of organic materials through rapid burial and anaerobic conditions now complicate efforts to conduct controlled archaeological excavation while maintaining site integrity for future research. The contemporary preservation framework that guides conservation efforts at the Gulf of Khambhat Cultural Complex reflects evolved understanding of underwater cultural heritage protection, incorporating principles established by UNESCO's Convention on the Protection of the Underwater Cultural Heritage while adapting international standards to the unique environmental conditions and cultural sensitivities that characterize this remarkable Indian archaeological site. The integrated approach combines advanced marine technology with traditional conservation methods, recognizing that effective heritage protection requires collaboration between government agencies, academic institutions, local communities, and international experts who bring diverse perspectives to the complex challenges of underwater archaeological preservation. Watch as the environmental monitoring systems that surround the archaeological site reveal the complex ecological relationships that both support and threaten long-term preservation efforts, where extensive mangrove forests along the Gulf's coastline provide crucial ecosystem services including coastal protection, biodiversity conservation, and carbon sequestration while potentially affecting underwater archaeological deposits through changing sedimentation patterns and water chemistry. The mangrove conservation efforts led by Gujarat's Forest Department have successfully maintained over 134 square kilometers of mangrove cover throughout the Gulf of Khambhat region, representing 11.4% of Gujarat's total mangrove forests and demonstrating how environmental protection can complement archaeological heritage preservation through integrated management strategies. The technological innovations that enhance contemporary preservation capabilities include advanced remote sensing techniques, underwater robotics, and precision documentation methods that enable researchers to monitor site conditions and extract maximum scientific information while minimizing physical disturbance to fragile underwater deposits. The application of satellite imagery, LiDAR technology, and multispectral analysis provides detailed monitoring of coastal changes, sediment transport patterns, and environmental factors that affect site stability, while underwater survey equipment continues improving in resolution and analytical capability to reveal new details about submerged structures without requiring intrusive excavation procedures. The industrial development pressures that pose ongoing threats to the Gulf of Khambhat archaeological site include the presence of numerous offshore oil, gas, and chemical terminals between Hazira and Dahej, with additional installations planned for the eastern part of the Gulf that could affect both the immediate archaeological deposits and the broader marine environment that supports site preservation. The challenge of balancing economic development with heritage protection requires careful environmental impact assessment and stakeholder collaboration to ensure that industrial activities do not compromise the integrity of archaeological sites while recognizing the legitimate economic needs of local communities and regional development priorities. The scientific collaboration networks that support ongoing research and conservation efforts demonstrate how contemporary archaeological Investigation benefits from interdisciplinary partnerships between marine archaeologists, environmental scientists, geological specialists, and conservation professionals who contribute different expertise to the complex challenges of underwater heritage preservation. The involvement of international institutions and UNESCO-affiliated programs provides access to global best practices for underwater cultural heritage protection while ensuring that research activities meet international standards for scientific rigor and cultural sensitivity. The climate change factors that increasingly affect preservation conditions at underwater archaeological sites include rising sea levels, changing storm patterns, and shifting ocean chemistry that could alter the environmental conditions responsible for the remarkable preservation of organic materials at the Gulf of Khambhat Cultural Complex. The vulnerability of coastal archaeological sites to climate-related threats necessitates adaptive management strategies that can respond to changing environmental conditions while maintaining effective protection for irreplaceable cultural resources that represent thousands of years of human achievement and cultural development. The community engagement initiatives that strengthen heritage preservation efforts include educational programs, cultural awareness activities, and collaborative research opportunities that enable local populations to participate in discoveries related to their ancestral heritage while providing mechanisms for traditional knowledge to inform scientific interpretation of archaeological findings. The success of these partnerships depends upon mutual respect and shared commitment to understanding the past while addressing contemporary cultural needs and development aspirations through approaches that honor both scientific accuracy and cultural identity. The legal frameworks that govern underwater cultural heritage protection in Indian territorial waters include national legislation, international treaties, and professional ethics codes that establish standards for excavation, analysis, and preservation activities while addressing issues of ownership, access, and cultural sovereignty that affect relationships between researchers and the communities whose ancestors created archaeological sites. The implementation of these protective measures requires ongoing coordination between governmental agencies, academic institutions, and heritage professionals who share responsibility for ensuring that archaeological resources receive appropriate study while maintaining respect for cultural sensitivities and indigenous rights. The funding challenges that face long-term preservation efforts require sustained commitment from governmental agencies, academic institutions, and private foundations, whose support is essential for maintaining the specialized facilities, equipment, and expertise necessary for proper conservation of underwater archaeological materials recovered from challenging marine environments. The successful completion of preservation projects depends upon continued financial resources that enable researchers to conduct thorough analysis while ensuring appropriate storage and protection for recovered artifacts that serve as irreplaceable links to ancient achievements and cultural development. The educational responsibilities that accompany heritage preservation include not only professional training for marine archaeologists and conservation specialists, but also public engagement activities that help diverse audiences understand the significance of underwater cultural heritage while promoting appreciation for the scientific methods and ethical principles that guide responsible archaeological investigation. The careful presentation of research results enables contemporary communities to understand their cultural heritage while providing international audiences with accurate information about the sophistication and achievements of ancient civilizations preserved beneath the world's oceans. The technological preservation methods that ensure long-term survival of recovered artifacts include climate-controlled storage systems, advanced conservation treatments, and digital documentation procedures that create permanent records, enabling future analysis using techniques that have not yet been developed. The application of these conservation technologies to materials from the Gulf of Khambhat requires specialized understanding of how marine environments affect different types of archaeological materials while developing treatment protocols that stabilize artifacts without compromising their scientific research potential. The monitoring systems that track site conditions over time include regular sonar surveys, environmental measurement programs, and biological assessments that document changes to underwater archaeological deposits while providing early warning of potential threats to site integrity. The data collected through these monitoring efforts enables adaptive management responses that can address emerging preservation challenges while maintaining scientific research capabilities and ensuring continued protection for cultural resources that have survived underwater for nearly 10 millennia. As we contemplate the remarkable dedication and sophisticated approaches that characterize contemporary efforts to preserve and protect the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex, we witness the evolution of underwater archaeology into a discipline that balances scientific discovery with heritage conservation while addressing the complex environmental, technological, and cultural challenges that affect underwater cultural heritage sites throughout the world. The patient work of preservation specialists demonstrates how traditional conservation wisdom can be enhanced by cutting-edge technology to create integrated approaches that serve both scientific research and cultural heritage protection, while ensuring that irreplaceable archaeological resources remain available for continued study and interpretation by future generations of researchers and community members. The gentle rhythm of conservation work and the eternal commitment to heritage protection carry continuing invitations to appreciate both the remarkable achievements of ancient peoples and the dedicated efforts of contemporary guardians who understand that their work serves not only academic purposes but also cultural and spiritual needs of communities whose heritage connects directly to these ancient remains preserved beneath the protective waters of one of India's most historically significant coastal regions. As the gentle evening stars begin their eternal watch over the tranquil waters of the Gulf of Khambhat, where the patient work of marine archaeologists and dedicated researchers continues revealing glimpses of ancient wisdom through careful analysis and respectful investigation. We arrive tonight at the serene conclusion of our journey through the profound mysteries of the 9,000-year-old submerged city that has challenged everything scholars thought they knew about the timeline of human civilization. Let your mind drift peacefully through the timeless questions that connect these ancient voices to our contemporary search for meaning, where each carefully documented artifact and sonar image whispers across the millennia about the eternal human quest to understand our place within the cosmic order that governs both individual existence and collective destiny. Close your eyes and feel the profound presence of those ancient communities whose willing dedication to urban innovation nearly 10,000 years ago continues teaching us about courage, ingenuity, and the mysterious relationship between environmental change and cultural transformation that challenges every generation to discover deeper truths about the sacred connections that unite all human experience across the vast expanse of time and technological advancement. Picture yourself standing in quiet contemplation at the research centers where scientists continue analyzing materials recovered from the underwater site, feeling the gentle coastal breeze that has witnessed countless generations of human searching while carrying whispers of questions that transcend any single culture or historical period. What does it mean to create lasting civilization? How do communities adapt to catastrophic environmental change? What responsibilities do contemporary scholars bear toward ancient peoples, and what wisdom can controversial archaeological discoveries offer to modern societies seeking balance between technological progress and cultural preservation? The Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex serves as more than archaeological curiosity. It functions as mirror reflecting our own deepest concerns about sustainability, adaptation, and the search for connection with achievements that transcend immediate material concerns. The remarkable preservation of these potentially 9,500-year-old remains reminds us that some human experiences transcend the boundaries of time and culture, connecting us directly to ancestors who faced many of the same fundamental questions that continue challenging contemporary communities seeking balance between individual innovation and collective responsibility. The geometric precision of underwater structures detected by sonar technology speaks to urban planning beliefs that understood community organization as pathway to collective prosperity, offering alternative perspectives on the relationship between environmental adaptation and technological innovation that merit thoughtful consideration by modern societies struggling with questions of sustainable development and climate change adaptation. Watch as the ongoing research continues revealing new dimensions of potential pre-Harappan civilization that expand our understanding of human cultural potential while raising additional questions about the sophisticated social and technological systems that may have enabled ancient coastal communities to maintain stability and meaning across multiple generations of environmental and cultural challenges. Each new sonar survey and artifact analysis provides answers to specific questions while simultaneously opening pathways to deeper mysteries that ensure archaeological investigation will continue for generations, with future researchers possessing tools and techniques we cannot yet imagine for extracting information from challenging underwater deposits. The international recognition that the December 2000 discovery has received demonstrates the global significance of archaeological findings that illuminate universal aspects of human experience while highlighting the particular achievements of potentially ancient Indian civilizations, whose contributions to human cultural development continue expanding our appreciation for the diversity and sophistication of early urban societies. The careful documentation and analysis of the underwater structures contributes valuable data to comparative studies of coastal adaptation, urban planning, and environmental resilience that help scholars understand common patterns and unique innovations in how different cultures have addressed eternal questions about sustainability, community organization, and technological development. The ethical frameworks that guide contemporary archaeological research at controversial sites like the Gulf of Khambhat reflect evolved understanding of the relationships between scientific inquiry, cultural sensitivity, and scholarly responsibility that require careful balance between advancing knowledge and respecting the spiritual significance that ancient sites continue holding for descendant communities. The collaborative approaches demonstrated during over 2 decades of investigation illustrate how modern scholarship can serve both academic and cultural purposes through methodologies that honor traditional wisdom while contributing to broader human understanding of our shared heritage and continuing quest for sustainable community development. The educational value of discoveries like the Gulf of Khambhat cultural complex extends far beyond academic circles to encompass public engagement. Opportunities that help diverse audiences appreciate both the material achievements and adaptive strategies of ancient peoples, whose dedication to urban innovation and environmental stewardship offers valuable perspectives for contemporary societies seeking sustainable approaches to technological development and community organization. The careful presentation of research findings challenges misconceptions about early human capabilities while demonstrating the continuing relevance of ancient wisdom for modern communities facing similar challenges related to climate change, resource management, and social organization. The preservation challenges that face underwater archaeological heritage worldwide remind us that each generation bears responsibility for protecting irreplaceable cultural resources for future scholars and community members who will continue seeking understanding about human potential and cultural achievement. The success of conservation efforts requires sustained collaboration between governmental agencies, academic institutions, and local communities whose support is essential for maintaining the specialized facilities and expertise necessary for proper care of ancient materials that connect us to our shared human story of innovation, adaptation, and environmental stewardship. The technological innovations that enhance contemporary archaeological practice enable researchers to extract unprecedented amounts of information from challenging underwater deposits while maintaining appropriate respect for the cultural and spiritual significance of sites containing evidence of ancient human achievement. The digital documentation methods employed during Gulf of Khambhat investigations create permanent archives that ensure discoveries remain accessible to future researchers regardless of changing political conditions or institutional priorities, while advanced analytical techniques reveal details about ancient life that previous generations could never have imagined. The comparative perspectives that emerge from studying controversial sites like the Gulf of Khambhat contribute to broader understanding of how different cultures have developed solutions to universal human challenges related to environmental adaptation, community organization, and technological innovation. The evidence of sophisticated urban planning, advanced construction techniques, and complex social systems demonstrates that ancient societies achieved remarkable cultural sophistication that merits respectful study and appreciation by contemporary audiences seeking models for sustainable community development and environmental stewardship. The ongoing research questions that drive future archaeological investigation include not only technical concerns about dating, cultural relationships, and environmental reconstruction, but also fundamental inquiries about human adaptability, social innovation, and technological development that connect ancient discoveries to contemporary concerns about sustainability, resilience, and community welfare. The potentially ancient civilization offers unique perspectives on these eternal questions through material evidence that documents alternative approaches to balancing technological innovation with environmental responsibility. The legacy of NIOT's December 2000 discovery extends beyond its immediate contributions to underwater archaeology to encompass broader implications for archaeological methodology, public engagement, and international collaboration that will influence heritage research throughout the world. The careful attention to scientific rigor, cultural sensitivity, and scholarly debate demonstrated during decades of investigation establishes important precedents for heritage research that respects both academic requirements and cultural values while serving educational purposes for diverse audiences seeking understanding about human potential and cultural achievement. The philosophical questions raised by studying potentially ancient urban civilization include fundamental inquiries about the nature of progress, the role of environmental change in cultural development, and the relationship between individual innovation and collective meaning that continue challenging contemporary communities seeking coherent approaches to technological development and social organization. The evidence from the Gulf of Khambhat site suggests that ancient peoples may have developed sophisticated frameworks for understanding these eternal mysteries through practices that integrated technological innovation with environmental stewardship and community welfare. The future directions of research at the Gulf of Khambhat site and related locations will likely reveal additional evidence of the complex environmental, technological, and social processes that have shaped coastal India while contributing to broader understanding of human cultural adaptation and resilience. The application of new analytical techniques to existing collections and the discovery of additional underwater sites will continue expanding our appreciation for the achievements of potentially ancient societies while raising new questions about their relationships to contemporary communities and their relevance for modern sustainability challenges. As we contemplate the profound questions raised by the potentially 9,000-year-old civilization discovered beneath the Gulf of Khambhat's protective waters, we recognize that some mysteries are meant to unfold gradually across generations of patient investigation, revealing their deepest meanings only to those who approach with appropriate reverence, scientific rigor, and genuine commitment to understanding the environmental and cultural dimensions of human experience that transcend the boundaries of time, geography, and cultural difference. The ancient voices that speak through underwater archaeological discovery continue inviting us to consider our own relationships with sustainability, innovation, and the eternal human quest for connection with achievements that serve purposes greater than immediate material concerns. The gentle Arabian Sea currents that flow across the sites where these investigations continue carry continuing whispers of ancient wisdom and timeless questions that connect all generations in the shared human journey toward understanding our place within the environmental systems that sustain life, reminding us that the most profound discoveries often emerge not from finding final answers, but from learning to ask better questions about the mystery of sustainable civilization and our responsibilities to each other across the vast expanse of time and environmental change that defines our remarkable human story.